filmmaker here. He's going to be sharing with us a particular contribution, a very important contribution, the Garifuna drum method that he created with a number of drummers in Belize, one of whom is here today. Joshua will be performing with the Garifuna Collective. And to his right is Mr. Michael Stone, Dr. Michael Stone, who is at Princeton. He was the director for the Latin American Institute at Princeton, and as you know, has done extensive amount of work on music, culture. Punta was a very good friend of Andy Palacio, and traveled with him a lot and received a number of awards that Andy received. And to his right is Miss Andrea Lealand, who is another filmmaker. Miss Lealand is from Chicago, but currently lives in St. John, Virgin Islands, and she has created a number of projects. The one that she will talk about today is the Garifuna Journey. It was shown earlier this week, and we will see an excerpt of that tomorrow at 2 o'clock at Auburn Avenue Research Library. Okay. And we also have Ronnie Figueroa, who is from Los Angeles. And Ronnie is, and his wife Cheryl Morales, have the Garifuna American Heritage Foundation United. I think that is that everything? A very important organization that focuses on the preservation of Garifuna culture. And they have a community forum every year. The last year was in New York, and I think they'll be also again in New York this coming May 31st. May the 31st. Yes. So you're welcome to travel to New York for that. We also have our last panelist is Mr. Gregg Palacio, whose artwork, beautiful artwork you see. I had spoken to Gregg and decided it would be very good to have a visual representation of Garifuna culture and art. And you see a number of them, and there are also paintings upstairs. So tonight when you're at the concert, make sure you go upstairs, and you can also go after the presentation today to see some of his artwork. And he has calendars and other things and postcards that are on sale. Okay, now that we have our introductions, I would just like for each one of the panelists, if they could recall an incident or conversation, whichever, with Andy, which made them think, that made you think that this was indicative of his character and where he might be going or his contributions at that time. Who would like to start? Go ahead, Ronnie.
That's the forest. But
okay. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Dr. Greene for having us. Cheryl, my wife, she's the president of Garifuna American Heritage Foundation. I met Andy back in 1990 in LA. As soon as I met Andy, it struck me that he was trilingual, like many of you are. He spoke Spanish very fluently, of course English and Garifuna. There was an event going on that evening, and since I'm a DJ, I DJ Garifuna music. Told Andy, I want you to come over. DJing at this place. It was a small club, so he came, and we had a chance to talk before and after my DJ. He had a great time. I played the music that he liked, because the style that I play when I play music is mostly paranda and a lot of music that has meaning behind it, not just a fast punta rock. And Andy just admired the way I DJ. He said, Ronnie, so how did you get involved? And I told, well, Andy, back in Guatemala when I lived with my mom, we used to travel all around the country, and being that my mom was a nurse, we went to different Garifuna villages, well, not villages, but small communities in Livingston and in Puerto Barrios. And that's how I got introduced to Garifuna people and the culture. So Andy was fascinated, and he's like, "Oh, keep going, I want to know more." So I told Andy, "Well, I'm here in LA, you know, and I like to do something to give back to the Garifuna people. They have been very nice to me, not only in Guatemala, but when I came to LA, I work with many organizations in LA that work towards the betterment of Garifuna people." So I told him that I wanted to produce an album, and he said, "You know what? I believe in what you could do. I want you to do it." And he gave me, in other words, he gave me the blessing. He said, "Go ahead and do it." And that was one of the first efforts that I made, not only being a DJ, but also being able to produce an album. And the first album that I produced was many of them, but I can't remember exactly. But it was an album by Garifuna Star Band from New York. And I remember, "Andy, I want you to follow your dreams, Ronnie, and if that's what you like, go ahead, and I will support you in anything that you do." And ever since that point in time, you know, I continue to work with Garinago, and not only producing music, but also getting involved in different events for the betterment of the people.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank Georgia State for hosting this event, and my friend, Oliver Greene, for inviting me. Thank you very much. Let's see, my recollection of Andy, when I was working on this film, this was like in the mid-90s, Andy at that point, I believe, was working under Roy Cayetano. I believe that's what he was doing at the time. And he was, in fact, honing his video skills, as I remember, because he was taking the video camera out. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but I remember he interviewed me one time when he was collecting information for UNESCO grant for the UNESCO to submit the information to the United Nations to get this title that the Garifuna were awarded. Anyway, so that was, I remember seeing him at that time, and I remember not so much of him as a musician, but more as a beginning of him as a cultural ambassador. And then I saw him last summer. I hadn't seen him for quite a long time. And then last summer he was in Chicago with the Garifuna Collective playing at the Millennium Park. And it was an amazing show. It was fabulous. It was just fabulous to see him really come out of what I had seen. Not that he was in his shell before, but I just felt like he was just fully present, and his music and he himself was all very much present, and he, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I really saw how he had blossomed, and it was just very present at the Millennium Park when he and the collective sang. And afterwards there was a signing, and so I went up to buy the album and to have him sign my CD. And I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he gave me a very warm welcome. We hugged and kissed, and he was happy to see me. I was happy to see him. And I had just finished this film about a musician in the Virgin Islands. I hadn't been working with the Garifuna community. I'd been working in the Virgin Islands. And when I gave him a copy of both of these to take back to Belize, and he was very excited to hear about what I was doing. And then I talked to him a little bit about how I had been to St. Vincent and had taken the Garifuna film to St. Vincent to present to the community there. And he wanted to hear more about that. And we talked about the possibility of doing more work in St. Vincent, because I'm in the Virgin Islands and closer to the Caribbean, and making the connection between St. Vincent and Belize. So that's where our conversation ended, and he continued to sign other autographs, but I just was struck by his warmth and how open he was to what I was doing, and how he could encourage me to continue to work with what I was doing, and he was interested in assisting me. So I was really struck by that. So that was my very fun. I was really happy to have been able to have been at that, at the concert at Millennium Park. That was wonderful. So, thanks.
Great.
They're doing great things to everyone. First of all, I want to thank Oliver and Georgia State, Rialto, for welcoming us here to Atlanta. My dad was the president of the Garifuna community in Los Angeles. Both my parents are teachers. When Andy was first brought to LA to perform, he had just gotten back to Belize after recording and doing his studies and rising on the charts. So when we met, I knew of him, but I never met him until then. We got to know each other. He saw my art, and I realized we were in the same field. Art and music go hand in hand. So it was kind of funny that when he asked me, who's your favorite artist? And I mentioned Gabaga, an older gentleman. And he thought I would say him because all the young ladies were all crazy over him and so forth. But I just thought that I've been following the culture for a while, so I know who was who. But Andy had he had extreme pride in his culture, and he always exhibited wherever he went. And he'll be highly missed by all of us. And I just hope that we can follow in his footsteps and keep promoting culture positively. Because right now, there are a lot of, in LA, it's really catching on with the younger generation, thanks to GAHFU and other organizations. But we do need to speak the language more, and our children are losing the language. And I think without a language, we will really lose our culture. That's the dilemma we're facing right now. And through my art, that's what I'm trying to present to the world eventually. And just being Andy, that made me a little bit more focused that, it's really a struggle that we're up against. And so when I spoke to him about a museum in Belize, I guess that was gave him an idea that we do need a museum, and we do need to preserve our culture and our crafts and clothing, food, etc. But Andy's he's a great pusher. He will never accept no. He would always look for that opening. And I have a lot of fond memories of him, but I believe that when we had telling him about an older gentleman, it was kind of shocked to him. so again, I just want to thank everybody for being here, and you guys enjoy the show. Thanks.
In 1997, I was in Morocco traveling through for the first time. At the time, there was a do-go going on. I hung out for a few days, met some people. One of the individuals said, hey, Andy Palacio is going to be playing in Houston. You need to look him up. Check out this guy. I caught a show. It was at a small venue, rental hall kind of place. Outstanding show. I've seen a lot of the musical acts over the years. And Andy's performance was up there with Bob Marley, with Mick Jagger. Excellent performance. From that, we became friends. And my first impression of Andy was he was one of the most gracious individuals. One of the ironies Tina album was during this time when Andy would come to Houston, I would be driving him around. Not everywhere, I mean, he had family there. But it was an opportunity for us to talk. But also, when I came to Belize, he would drive me around the country. So it's somewhat ironic in terms of the album name. The other thing I'd like to say, and this is getting away from the past and talking more about the present and the future in terms of Andy Palacio's legacy, is the band is on a tour as a tribute to Andy. Something that was not foreseen months ago. This has been very difficult with Andy's death, the tour manager coming down with meningitis, a number of other problems that have occurred during this tour. But everybody is there because they want to pay tribute to Andy. And the country of Belize is in such belief also. The concern I have about the future is the parallel to Andy would be somebody like Bob Marley. When he died at an early age, it's been essentially nonstop tribute to Bob Marley in Jamaica since. And what has happened in that particular situation is that not a person over 4 or 5 years old doesn't know Bob Marley was in Jamaica. Almost everybody knows his songs. The people who know the music, they've lost the message. Jamaica is a more violent country. What is important in terms of the tribute to Andy Palacio is to remember his music, to remember his spirit, but more importantly, remember and practice his message. His message was, how do we preserve the culture of the Garifuna?
I guess we could all tell, many stories, but this was something that I asked Andy about the last time I saw him, which was in Sevilla, Spain, in last October. And one of the great things about Andy was that you could fool around, you could kid around with him, like the Gabaga stick. And I told Andy that I'd been in London recently, in the British Library, where I discovered some years ago there are a series of recordings that Andy and some other Garifuna musicians made when they went there in 1987. They appeared at WOMAD, they appeared at the now defunct Commonwealth Institute. They did several performances, and amazingly, these performances are archived at the British Library. So I wanted to go listen to them. And I had another recording in my collection, which it hadn't really dawned on me. I came to realize it was Andy's first recording, and I showed an image of that LP. It never came out on CD, which was made in the early 80s. Those recordings, I was kind of teasing Andy about. I said, someday somebody's going to put those recordings out. He said, oh, don't tell anybody about that. Don't tell anybody about that. He was immensely modest as an artist, as a human being. And I think in some ways he was a little bit embarrassed to think about those early recordings because he had come so far that in looking back, as I guess any artist would do on their earlier work, you know, you grow through that artistic creative process. And you might look back on your early work with a particularly critical eye. That's understandable. You know, anybody who does anything creative probably has that capacity for self-critique. But I took another lesson from that, and I think it resonates with what Matt said a minute ago, and that is that the way I chose to interpret those words, other than the modesty and the graciousness and the generosity and the capacity to walk into a room and make every single person in the room feel like they had a place. You know, apart from all that, or in addition to all of that, Andy was always looking forward. Of course, he was interested in his past, that is to say, the Garifuna past, the past of minority peoples throughout Central America, Latin America, because let's not forget, he was also a cultural activist. He was a cultural ambassador, but he was also a cultural activist. But he was looking forward, and I think, you know, to kind of echo what Matt said a moment ago, the real lesson there is beyond the eulogy, beyond the memory, beyond honoring the memory of a man. What we are left with is a question or a challenge, and that is, what can we do with the talents that we have? And how can we channel the spirit that Andy embodied?
My case is unusual because what happens when you have relatives who are famous, then you are the last person to see them because everybody else sees them. So my one big regret is that I didn't get a chance to talk to him at length after the success of Watina. I wanted to ask him questions like, how is it playing in Slovenia? How did people react to you there? I wanted to ask him what is the next project, and specifically, how do you see now the culture as moving by virtue of what you've done? And these are things that I know he would have had answers for, and we could have really gotten into. So one of my biggest regrets is that we never got a chance for that wrap-up session that I know one of us would have enjoyed a great deal. However, we did talk just immediately after Watina, and he had given me a demo because he always liked to pick my brain on things that he was questioning. And so he asked me, hey, listen to this and give me your opinion. And I remember listening to it, and I couldn't put a finger on it. It was Garifuna, non-Garifuna. It had some of our traditional rhythm, but at the same time, it was stylized. And it took me about 3 times to listen to it, then I eventually caught it, that you can now leave us, you can now die. Oh, the words I have told anybody that I most regret. However, I have to explain, as I mentioned in my presentation, that death for us is not an end. It is moving on and allowing space for the next generation. And he knew what I meant, and he chuckled. So, and then he mentioned that to other people too. And you know what my brother told me? My brother, he has a name for me in the village. This is what he said, make a no die. so it became a joke among us, and it was a little prophetic. But again, this is the kind of person he was. He could force around, be serious at the same time. And these are some of the qualities that we'll certainly miss from him.
Country or what culture, specifically what culture I want to stay.